Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name's Stuart Russell. I'm Communications Manager with Frost Video, and you are joining us live here at BVE 2019 at the Excel Centre in London's historic East End. I'm joined today by Jack Horry, who is Platform Manager with Sky Production Services. Jack, nice to see you. Thanks for your time. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about a rebranded channel that Jack was very heavily involved in, and this is Sky Sports Racing. And Jack, I understand that you made the decision to rebrand the channel last year, and you had to essentially create something from nothing in a very compressed timescale.
So we started with an existing studio, and very quickly had to work out whether that was a viable option or not. It quickly became not, so we had to rip it all out, start again. And looking at the existing production that was Amber Races, it was now Sky Sports Racing, they were a very lean organisation. They didn't really use a lot of heavy broadcast tools that Sky would use, so we had to sort of also look at the workflows and how that would all integrate as we went forward.
So going from essentially bare office space to a fully functioning studio in the space of 6 months, that's a challenging timescale. I mean, how did you manage that process? What were the technical challenges that you faced in that?
Well, we ordered the equipment in June, July, sort of slightly pre-design, and then designed while we were waiting for it to arrive. And it quickly became much more about our workflows and how that production team would integrate. So we used Inception as an NLCS system to help organise their workflows, and that then feeds into Overdrive, which is the automation system that pulls it all together and helps Sky still be that sort of active, agile, forward-looking channel. Mm.
You mentioned workflow automation there with Overdrive. We obviously worked with you last year to help automate the main news studio at Sky. So I'm wondering how easy the process was of introducing automation to Sky Sports Racing.
Because I'd done the news project, I sort of understood how it could work. It took a little bit of persuading for production teams that this was a viable product and something that they could actually get their teeth into and use and assist. The way Sky used to do things, 12, 15 people in a gallery, everyone's got one job. We had to shrink that because they only had 5 people working for them beforehand, and we had to maintain that staffing level. But we wanted to use that staffing level better. So there's a whole load of scalability you can then add to still have that look of Sky Sports, stings and big graphic pieces, but also shrink it down to a very small production team when you're least being viewed. So then we can scale up because we can now afford the people when we're really busy, and we used one of the new features called variables to do that with the sound.
I mean, when it comes to workflow automation, I know sometimes it can be perceived as being a slightly controversial subject, but I think, to your point there, I think when it comes to issues of scalability, when it comes to using your workforce or your team efficiently, I think automation can be a definite help there.
Automation is an extreme help for that because we start the day with a news bulletin, and that's a very traditional automation piece where we go from a piece of VT to a camera to a piece of VT, that sort of event. But when we're talking about live racing, anything can happen anywhere. We have a set way that we want to do races. We want some consistency to it, but it's still very active. So when we've got more than one race on, we'd like to have a sound man, we'd like to have a bit more production crew, an EVS operator potentially, that sort of scalability. But what automation allows us to do is just to shrink that right down, but still have that same value when we're not busy. It's quite an art.
You mentioned the newsroom computer system earlier on. From the earlier presentation today when we were talking, you said that Darren Long gave you a bit of a challenge to get a cloud-based system in place.
Yes.
And Inception is the Ross solution. So how was your Inception journey?
Well, Inception journey was fantastic because we started off. I just wanted to tinker around with it. I gave you Ross a call. We got a demo system spun up in the cloud. I had a couple of hours training, and we started to come up with what would be a sample running order, sample how it would work, and then we discussed how it would work in the real world and how we can develop it. And we've just developed that initial test. For 2 hours training I had is the base config of what is currently on air. Haven't had to do that much more to it, except for adding on the MOS devices themselves, so Overdrive and the graphic systems. It was very, very easy to use, and it really helped us get to that market really quickly, because I think if we used one of our traditional ones, either reimagining them or starting one from scratch would take a lot longer than a cloud-based system we can have up straight away and start thinking about how it's actually going to help us.
And in terms of your launch experience, obviously launching on New Year's Day, not for the faint-hearted, I'm sure.
Not for the faint-hearted.
But how was that experience?
It was a very good experience, but I think I've said to you before that it's not just day one. Day one's always smooth because actually you've got everyone thinking about it. There's challenges around you, but everyone is looking at that day one experience. The challenge is day 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's about keeping that consistent as we go forward, because people change, staff change, and the key is to have a consistent level of training between them all, so they can all achieve the goals we've got.
And we're now sitting here obviously talking on the last day of February 2019, so you've had a couple of months worth of broadcasting under your belt. How's that been? I mean, any lessons learned, things you might have done a bit differently? Or?
We obviously learned some lessons from news. I think there's always challenges with all these things, but it has been, touch wood, a reasonably smooth channel. There's still things that the production team are finding out, there's still things that the directors are finding out about how it's used. But I think the key is we didn't push it from the start. We always started with that, what can it do now? And then moved on from there. Because I think if you didn't do that, we would have been going, what could we do? Get wrapped up in what could we do, yes, and then miss the deadlines.
I mean, being on time and on budget with a 6-month window is still a very impressive effort. That's a very impressive result. In terms of the scope of the channel as well, I mean, I know earlier on you were talking about 700 meetings you're looking to cover a year. Any future challenges or future plans for the channel?
It's 700 UK meetings. We also do Hong Kong, Dubai, Australia, and the challenges now is how we improve on what we're doing. We're going to do more coverage of the US racing than we've already started. We started small, going to expand that, and we're going to start doing sort of big production numbers on site, using touchscreens and more reporters and more cameras per race. We've sort of planned it that we could potentially have 4 cameras at every race. Now, obviously, day to day, we're only sending one person, but for big events like Ascot, we can really scale it up and really give the viewer that Sky Sports experience without having to change what we do or rethink about what we do.
Jack, thank you very much for your time. It's an incredibly impressive project. So there we go. Thank you again. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Inception and Overdrive from Ross Video. I think both products. Great example there of how both products were used for Sky and helped to deliver some great value for you as a customer and some great efficiencies as well. For more information on either of those 2 products or anything else in the suite of solutions that are manufactured by Ross Video, please do come and visit us at rossvideo.com. Otherwise, that's us from London. Thank you very much for watching.